Well, Kenyans will march to the polling booth on August 9 to vote in the general elections. Now, top of the agenda and the most talked about election in the country is the presidential election. Former Prime Minister and four-time contestant in the past, Raila Odinga, is going head-to-head against the current Deputy President of the country, William Ruto. 77-year-old Odinga is the anointed candidate, interestingly, of Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyattas, as both men sheathe their swords and come together against the younger and more energetic Ruto. Typical of the Kenyan political space, issues of loyalty, tribal leanings, expectations of the people, and familial heritage are all in the discourse ahead of one of Africa's biggest elections of the year. We unpack the issues and break the story here on VSA. Welcome, I'm Sulaiman. In 2007, Kenya was thrown into one of the most chaotic times in its modern history as former President Kibaki and Raila Odinga fought for glory. Now, the violence that resulted from that election led to the death of over 1,000 people and the displacement of more than 600,000 people. It was a low point in Kenya's democratic history. Uhuru Kenyattas, the current president, also had a lengthened crossfire with Odinga in 2017 as he was declared winner of the election for the second time. The constant name in Kenyan politics is Odinga. He has vied to become president in 1997, 2007, 2013, and 2017. And 2022 will be his fifth shot at presidential glory. Despite the turbulent history, President Kenyatta has thrown his weight behind Odinga against his deputy, Ruto. Odinga of the Azimio, a coalition of 26 political parties, hold a lot in terms of analytical possibilities against Ruto of the Kenya Kwanza. That's a coalition of more than 10 political parties. Now, with the Building Bridges initiative of the presidency struggling to take off, it is fight to the finish in the presidential election. Both Odinga and Ruto have great following in the country, but as it stands, there are more that separates them than ambitions, politics, and desires. And we have two gentlemen to help us unpack this. David Matsanga is an African affairs analyst, and also I have Richard Bosire, who is a political analyst from Kisii in Kenya. Gentlemen, good to see you both, and thanks for your time. Let's start with you, Dr. Matsanga. How important is this Kenyan election to Africa's democracy and the fight to make it better?
First of all, thank you very much. And I hope you are hearing me properly, Sulaiman.
I can hear you.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this show again, the Village Square of Africa. And I'm very delighted to greet my people of Africa through you and the millions watching across the globe. The elections of Kenya of 2022 is important. It's important in the sense that Raila has had 5 times a step towards winning an election in Kenya. This time is important because he is 79 and he has got to win this one. And he has got to make sure that he unites the country. The word Azimio means unity. For our viewers across the globe and across Africa who are watching, what does the word Azimio mean? It means unity of purpose. Unite to make a better Kenya, not a fragmented Kenya. You know, elections in Africa leave most of the states fragmented. And therefore, this is a very crucial election, important election. Very significant to the region, very significant to Kenyans, because they must choose between people who steal and those who don't steal their money. So there is a choice here, a very big choice between Raila Odinga and the group, which is Azimio, and the Kenya Kwanza group that is headed by the Deputy President, His Excellency Dr. Samoei Ruto. People want somebody who will cut down this question of corruption, and the Railas team presents the best moment as far as from an observer point of view.
Well,
Yes.
okay, I think, well, I lost for a bit, but I'll come back to you. Let's quickly come to Richard.
I was saying,
I'll come to you, Dr. Matsanga. Apologies there. Well, there was a glitch, but now we're back. I'll come back to you. Let's welcome Richard. Richard, good to see you, and thanks for your time. You know,
thank you for inviting me.
I also like to ask what this election means to you. For a lot of Kenyans, you're looking up to that big moment, August of 2022. How are you expecting this election to go for you?
Okay, first let me thank you for inviting me, and let me start by saying that I agree with Matsanga, who is saying that this election is very significant to Kenya and the whole of Africa, because Kenya is a gateway to East Africa, and this is a transition period, and it's a transition election. So we expect a lot of fire all over the country. But according to what happened today, things are changing. The Deputy President was ahead in terms of opinion polls for the last 1 year. But Raila has been catching up with him since they started the Azimio coalition party. But after what happened today, after Raila named Martha Karua, the first female Deputy President of a big party, so we're expecting women all over the country to support her. So this is a very, very significant moment, and Raila Odinga made a very good choice by picking Martha Karua, because she will attract the women vote. So we're expecting very huge or big changes from tomorrow.
And I'll come back to you, David, because we need to go back in history. Let's look at the 2007 incident. That has always been a point, a period nobody wants to see again. You were there, you witnessed that election. How can these leading candidates ensure their followers maintain law and order?
Thank you very much. That is why you see Raila Odinga created and coined Azimio. Azimio means unity of purpose, unity without violence, hatred that can create a conflict. Azimio means unite. Let's all unite. Let Kenyans unite and work under a focused direction. He's pleading, and he has said to the people, to his followers today, and he has been saying it, that the bloodshed that was there in 2007, 2008 should not return at all to any of the Kenyans. No Kenyan should be mistreated because of an election. The other group of His Excellency, the Dr. William Samoei Ruto, has not told us how they are going to conduct. They have only told us one thing, a theory that we don't know, which later on you will ask us about it. He has told us something that we don't know, that is a bottom-up. But he hasn't told us how he's going to maintain the unity of this country without the country plunging itself into a war or conflict again. So it is very, very important that the two leading contenders of this throne, which they have to succeed in the succession to President Uhuru Kenyattas, must unite, must talk about the unity of purpose. That's why President Uhuru Kenyattas brought what we call BBI. And as you remember, BBI, you have talked about it on this square before. It was shot down by Ruto. And now Ruto is the first person to use the same BBI after he had shot it down to allocate and appease the western part of Kenya, appease them that you vote for me, you'll take the prime ministership. Yet he refused the BBI. BBI would do very well for him. Now he's using it promising Mudavadi, promising Wetangula, promising all these people that you will get posts. This was an idea of President Uhuru Kenyattas and Raila Odinga.
I'll come to you so that we'll talk more about this support that Odinga is getting, you know, surprisingly from the outgoing president. Now, let's come to you, Richard. Richard, David has been able to tell us what these two terms mean. You know, the Azimio, which is unity without violence, and so far we've seen about 26 political parties coming together to say this is the way we headed. And that's for Mr. Odinga, while the Prime Minister Ruto has the Kwanzaa coalition of about 10 political parties. And for David, he said a lot of Kenyans are still waiting to hear from the deputy, the deputy president, to tell them what exactly he's about. How can these people, which is very instructive here, these two politicians, Mr. Odinga and Ruto, ensure that Kenyans don't go into another, civil unrest after this election?
Okay, the events of 2007 are very clear in Kenyans' minds, and I think after what happened during the elections, we saw the cases were taken to ICC, and people were prosecuted, but the cases collapsed. So Kenyans are very, very careful this time, and all the leaders are very careful. They all fear inciting Kenyans, because Kenyans want a peaceful and non-violent election, and they are sure that the winner will be declared.
Okay, let's come to David, and this has to do with the support the Ruto camp, the Odinga camp is getting, because surprisingly, President Kenyatta has anointed his former opposition, Raila Odinga, at the expense of his own deputy. What happened there, and well, how are Kenyans reacting to that?
First of all, you are talking of support. Which type of support are you talking about? I want to know. The guy, William Ruto, is using government money, government allowances, government cars, government microphones, government bodyguards. So when you talk about support with Sulaiman, let Africans know that this is a deputy president who came to power. I don't know whether am I being heard again?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
This is the deputy president who defied the president, went ahead to do his wrong things, earning allowances from the government, the same government that he denounces during daytime, which guards him. The food he eats in the house is from the government, the same government. So when you talk about support, you must be telling me which type of support. Raila has not been given any physical support apart from the normal bodyguards that he has, because he was a former prime minister. But he has in Kenya, everybody knows that the deputy president has not met, has not been in the meeting, has not been shaking hands with the president of the Republic of Kenya. And yet he's drawing allowances, using allowances to campaign. I am telling you, somebody is going to go to court that the deputy president was using his office to campaign against all presidential candidates who have no money. So when you talk about support, brother, you must specify which support he's getting. Apart from Uhuru Kenyattas saying, I will support Raila Odinga, which is political support.
But again, political support is more than enough. You know, the mere mention of the president saying that this is who I'm backing, well, it's enough to sway votes.
But because the president wants a legacy, he wants to leave a legacy. He wants to leave a legacy of development, not a legacy of theft, not thieves. You can't leave this country to thieves. You can't leave this country to corrupt people. You can't leave this country to people who are going to get 10% out of every contract. You can't leave this country to people who want to
Mr. Matsanga, we have to be very careful. Has anyone who's running for election at the moment been indicted by any law court as being corrupt?
Yes. The deputy president, the deputy running mate of His Excellency Dr. William Ruto is in court for corruption, an economic crime, where he was found with 200 million Kenya shillings, which is about $20 million. Or $2 million in an account he couldn't explain, and other things. That one now is already on the running mate docket. Is he not? You see, even if he's not convicted, if it was in any country of civilized democracy, once you are mentioned of anything that is bad, that touches the economy, that touches corruption, you step aside. But we in Africa, we continue as if business is as usual. So when you say, is there anybody who has not been mentioned? He's one of them. He's now on the list. I am not going to tell you that Ruto, if you Google Ruto now in the Google map, Google him with your phone and say corruption in Kenya. Do you know how the name will jump out?
Well, still, that doesn't make him a corrupt person because because we need to wait for the with due respect, Dr. Matsanga, we need to wait for the outcome of the courts before we can say there's no verdict on that yet. Let me bring in apologies, I'll come back to you. Let me bring in Richard quickly here. Richard, listening to David Matsanga is quite an interesting perspective, but again, we have to also go with the laws. And so long as a man is still in court and hasn't been proven guilty or otherwise, then we can't actually put that verdict on his neck. Now, has President Kenyatta laid a legacy good enough for his successor to make the most of?
First, I want to talk about the corruption cases. I want to disagree with Matsanga because the Constitution is very clear. First, that one has to be proven in court. One has to be proven guilty. So the Constitution assumes that you are innocent until proven guilty. That's why they will be cleared to vie. But in terms of perception, on Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution, on the integrity chapter, such people don't pass. They should not be allowed to run. And on the issue of Uhuru's succession and legacy,
well, there seems to be a glitch there in that connection to Richard. We hope that we can get Richard back. And while we wait for Richard to come back, let's quickly jump back to David Matsanga and see what we can get. Now, Dr. Matsanga, we're asking about the legacy of the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyattas. Yes, we've seen how he's made some, peace overtures to Odinga and other politicians, which has actually brought the needed peace and development in Kenya. Well, how would you rate that so far? Would you say his legacy has been good enough for a successor to come on the saddle?
First of all, I want to correct the notion. When you asked me the question, indicted, I am an English Shakespearean man. I studied Shakespeare and English. So when you ask me, is there anybody indicted? I did not say convicted, indicted. If you had asked me convicted, I would have said so. Thank you. Indicted means there are people indicted. They have not gone through the process, but they have been caught. And they are in court. They would have to fight it. Okay, but when you talk about Chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution, which is here, none of these guys can pass. Only Raila and Martha Karua can pass, but the other side cannot pass because they have violated almost everything. So on the legacy of Uhuru Kenyattas, it is very, very clear. This is a man who has thought through COVID-19. And I want to thank Uhuru Kenyattas, President Uhuru Kenyattas, my friend, for having been one of the few people who stood and directed us through the COVID-19 period. Every African country went through that. You saw some countries left their people to die. Uhuru Kenyattas did that. Infrastructure. If you come to Nairobi, Sulaiman, and I invite you, one of these days when I get some money, I will invite you all, two of you to come and enjoy the good times of Nairobi. Is changed. Infrastructure, the roads construction across the country. This is for the future development of this country called Kenya. If we keep it that way, Sulaiman, tomorrow you will export your goods, all the commodities will be exported, good roads will carry goods to the airports and the ports, and it goes. So he has a legacy. Of course, with economic times, every country in Africa has got the same economic problems, not only Africa, even Britain. Some of us live in Britain, but we used to buy things for 100 pounds. Now you cannot buy one thing for 100 pounds in a supermarket in a Tesco. It is gone on the 2 items or 3. The economies have changed all over the whole world. But on the legacy, Uhuru Kenyattas has performed. You can see the miracles. You can see stability of security. The most important thing is security. Uhuru Kenyattas has got security, external forces and internal forces. We had terrorism that was killing us all along. People come and bomb us. We have managed to contain that with good leadership of security agencies. So I'm telling you frankly, he has left a legacy, and he needs to give a legacy to somebody trusted, not people who are going
okay. I see Richard is back, and Richard Matsanga has been able to help us with legacies of the outgoing president. But again, I also let you weigh in on that and quickly so that I can come back and look at some other aspect of politics. So the legacies of the president, Uhuru Kenyattas, how sufficient is that for anyone to come on the saddle? I think you really have to unmute yourself. I guess you're still on the mute button. I'm afraid I still can't hear you. Well, while we try to work on that, again, apologies. I'll stay with David Matsanga. And one other aspect which a lot of Africans are interested in, and even those in Europe, is the kind of politics in Kenya, tribal politics, which has always been a strong part of the country, despite the criticisms against it. Kikuyu, Kenenji have produced the past Kenyan presidents. A Luo man, Odinga, is in the mix this time, and he stands a good chance. Will tribalism come to play again?
And we have a problem. Sulaiman, you have a point there. And that's the problem we have in Africa. Most of the African countries go to conflict because of tribes. I am very happy that in Uganda 34 years ago, or to 37 years ago, there was quite a lot of divisions in tribal sentiments that ended up in a war, a very big war between the Northerners, the Luo, and the Southerners, the Bantu. We cleared that. Later on, we had an agreement. Everything has gone back home. Uganda criminalizes tribalism. You can't call me by my tribe in Kampala City when the police is hearing. They will take you in and take you to the magistrate. So tribalism in Africa is real. And one of the problems we have in Kenya also is tribalism. For the last, since independence, 2 tribes have dominated the leadership of presidency. What Uhuru did this time, why Uhuru is hated, why Ruto hates Uhuru, is Uhuru said, this time the presidency should rotate to other tribes, should go to another tribe. We have been in power for the last for 59 years from one tribe, the Kikuyu. But we want now to spread this presidency to other tribes. And Ruto was not comfortable because Ruto was coming from one of the tribes that has also been in presidency for 24 years. 24 years, Moi was beating us, breaking our legs here. I have a wound here, if I show you. I went through the special branch, the torture chambers of Nyat House. My legs cannot have powder. Even if I put cream on my legs, they remain white. I was put in a refrigerated water in Nyat House in 1985. I have the wounds here. So we are not going, we support Raila Odinga because Uhuru is right. Let the presidency go somewhere. Let Bosire, Richard Bosire, who is on the show now, try the presidency. Yes, that is very good. That's what Uhuru said. Why is it that Ruto, after 24 years of Moi, he tortured us, they tortured the people. Even in 90 Kenyans were tortured. I'm not a Kenyan. I was tortured. I was in one of those chambers. My legs, I was put in cold water below the temperature of 0 degrees in Nyat House. Even if I put cream on my legs, they will never be nice legs. So when you look at those type of things, Uhuru Kenyattas said, let these things go back to rotate to other countries, other counties, other tribes. Let somebody else. This time he said, Raila, that's your chance. Have it. And I'm going home. Keep my legacy. Keep a united Kenya. Keep a good Bosire, Richard Bosire, to also feel like he's in Kenya. Because you cannot feel like you're in Kenya when 2 tribes are dominating politics. Richard Bosire. Sulaiman, that's the position here.
You know, this is very important, talking about tribalism or tribal politics, because if you look at it critically, I'm happy that, Matsanga, you've been able to expatiate this. Is also some of the key things other African countries, even in Nigeria, are dealing with. Yes. And that is why in Nigeria they talk about rotation of presidency. Quickly here, Richard, listening to Matsanga, going down history, we have to talk about politics and see how every section of that country, specifically in Kenya now, will have a shot at the presidency. So do you think it's politically correct to have the candidacy of Mr. Odinga on this ballot?
First, thank you, Mr. David Matsanga, for endorsing me for future presidency. I'll try that. Okay. In terms of Uhuru endorsing Raila, I think Uhuru has done what his father and Raila's father failed to do by uniting the Kikuyus and the Luos. Every time the Kikuyus and the Luos unite in Kenya, they have a very, very huge voting bloc. And you remember in 2002 when Raila said Kibaki Tosha, that's what catapulted Kibaki to victory. So I think with Uhuru and Martha Karua, all from Central Kenya, throwing their support behind Raila Odinga, Matsanga is very right. Raila has the higher chances of winning. And I think in Central Kenya, things will change. People have been telling Raila, where is your brother Uhuru Kenyattas? Come with him, you campaign in Central Kenya. But after today, Raila Odinga has a running mate from Mount Kenya. That's Martha Karua. So I think the two, if they go to Central and start their campaigns, they will gain ground and remove Ruto from the top in Central Kenya.
Well, anyway, I think while you consider what Matsanga has said, your political ambition in the future of Kenya, let's put this into the space. The political atmosphere in Kenya at the moment is something that Africans will love to understand. David, help us here. Now we're talking about having a peaceful election, a peaceful outcome. So what's the reading you're getting from especially these two followers of Raila Odinga and William Ruto?
First of all, I want to be very candid, and Richard will support me on this one. Elections are badly managed in Africa. A bad election, a badly prepared, a badly arranged, a badly facilitated election leads to chaos. The election of Kenya, and I'm not a bad prophet of doom, the election of Kenya, Kenyans, as Richard said, are aware of the consequences now. People will not kill each other. But the confusion in the IEBC of changing goalposts from one thing to the other. Look at this scenario, Sulaiman. At the moment, the register that everybody to know whether you are on the list or not.
Sorry to cut you here, so that other Africans will understand what we're talking about. The IEBC, that's the electoral body in Kenya.
No, Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission.
Good.
It's like your Nigerian Electoral Commission. And that is the commission that keeps on changing goalposts. Oh, this one here. Oh, that one there. The guy at the head of the IEBC is not doing very well. You see, look at a man goes to register in two coalitions. Kalonzo registered in one coalition and again kept that one secret. Then he jumped into Azimio, signed the agreement. Now, after seeing the danger here, Kalonzo has run back. We are watching. I am watching. Some of us activists are watching. Wamutata and other people, we are watching to see whether Chebukati will clear Kalonzo, because Kalonzo has signed an agreement in Azimio. He has not finished internal dynamics of the party before you quit. The law is clear 3 months before you change the names. Why did you sign the signatures? So this is a confusion. So in Africa, Richard will agree with me, a badly managed election brings a conflict. In my country, Uganda, a badly managed conflict brought what you saw. Okay? A badly managed election, your place in Nigeria, the other election was canceled at 5 a.m. I was there in Lagos, waiting to go to the polling station with my reporters and the analysts. And I had the announcement that they have canceled the election, the first one. So we wasted a lot of money, tickets, and so many things. So in Africa, badly managed elections can create a conflict. And it is part of the problem that Dr. Matsanga is fighting. That if I had a chance, and I am sorry to mention it on your television here, I would ban elections in Africa. Because have you ever seen, can I ask you one question, Sulaiman? Have you ever seen of a Chinese MP in Lagos with a briefcase and a big car? You haven't seen one. But China gives us money. There's no Chinese MP. You can never find a member of parliament of China. China sits once in a year, finishes all the programs, and lends us money. Do they do are there MPs? All the people who come, you see on the roads of Lagos, those are brigadiers, captains, generals. They are all well organized with their social contract. Elections in Africa waste money. You know why? You go and pay 60 billion, which is $66 billion to conduct an election in Kenya. Then you beat each other and nullify it. So what is the use of an election in Kenya? So
well,
for me,
I think it's something I would like us to stretch further. Maybe another day on the square. Let's talk about. I'd like to hear your points and how Africa can move on, without having an election in a democracy. Except perhaps there's something else you have in mind. But definitely we'll have that on the square. Let me bring in Richard now. Richard, now we're talking about the election law that allowed the coming together of parties in a coalition, which seems to have changed the entire political landscape in Kenya. So do you think this was deliberate to swing the polls in the favor of any of the candidates? It's hard to believe that, David. I mean, Richard is gone again. And again, I think that seemed to be some issue with that connection to Richard. But good thing we have David to help us here. And David, I asked Richard to actually talk more about the coalition, the coming together of these political parties, which we highlighted earlier on. 26 coalition parties, on the side of Odinga, under the auspices of the Azimio, that's the unity without violence. And for the Kwanzaa, Ruto has 10 political parties. And I'm asking if this was actually a deliberate thing to swing the polls in the favor of any of the candidates, David.
No. You can choose one of the methods. You can choose to go and register in loose coalition, each party maintaining its own structure. Or you go and register. The act is very clear. You register as a coalition, all the parties sign one document and agree that they will forward one presidential candidate. Then there is another format that all parties can have their own identity and register as parties, but they have that cooperation. That is one strand. Another strand, which Raila for example, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is a coalition of 21 parties, including Wiper of Kalonzo Musyoka. And Kalonzo Musyoka is the leader of the party. So if the law is very clear in Kenya that before you leave this coalition, you must first of all give notice of 3 months. And after election, you must also leave after 3 months if you are not happy. So what Kalonzo Musyoka has technically done is fraudulent. And we are seeing it is fraud. He shouldn't be given a certificate to run anywhere in Kenya because he went and registered one organization belonging to two. Azimio One Kenya and One Kenya, two of them. That is uttering false documents to the IEBC. So the law is going to catch up with him. He has lastly killed his career because I don't see how the IEBC is going to clear a candidate who had registered in two parties when they have stopped even those who have shifted allegiance from One Kenya, Azimio Kenya, to Ruto's place, not to be recognized. So the law is catching up with Kalonzo. He has made a very terrible mistake. Why did he register in Azimio? Then lastly jump, and then he said, I have Oka. He has uttered false documents. And we are not going to keep quiet. We have already seen where Kalonzo is ending. Kalonzo will end up, and let me tell you, Sulaiman, Kalonzo is going to come back to Raila and take that post of chief secretary.
You're sure of that?
Yeah, because he has nowhere to go. He has nowhere to go. He's like that. Kalonzo is like that.
Let me tell you what's happening. I'm quite sure you're also following what's happening in Nigeria. House of Ministers who wanted to go for the presidency have all, gone round to say, look, I don't want it again. I would like to keep my job. I'm not too sure of the presidency. Let me stay with what I'm sure of. I think someday I should have you to weigh in, since you've also observed elections in Nigeria, to come talk about Nigerian politics.
I know the geography. I know the geography very well. The whole geography of Nigeria from every angle. I know it.
I'll be excited to have you here on the square to talk about Nigeria. But quickly, Richard, apologies the back and forth of the connection to you. I hope it stays this time.
Okay.
I actually wanted you to weigh in on what Matsanga has also contributed to. It has to do with the coalition of political parties on both sides, and we're asking to see if that is going to give some form of advantage to any of the candidates.
If you see, the Azimio coalition is made up of over 20 political parties compared to the Kenya Kwanza one, which has like 10 parties. And according to the latest opinion polls, Azimio coalition is the most popular coalition in Kenya right now. Although Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka today said he'll go it alone after ditching Azimio coalition, I think he'll have a very, very huge task to be cleared to vie for that seat as a Wiper Party leader, because the coalition law was very clear that you cannot get out at the moment. So Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka is moving to court to pull out from the Azimio coalition, but I think it will be too late for him. It will be a surprise for me if he's cleared to vie, as Mr. Matsanga said.
Well, David, you know, the Odinga and Kenyatta families, let's talk about these two families. They both have strong political dynasties in Kenya. And William Ruto seemed to be using this claim as a tool to break them. How are Kenyans reacting?
First of all, William Ruto himself is a dynasty. And unfortunately, he's a Robin Hood. He's a thief. He steals from the poor and says, I didn't steal. You know, Sulaiman, can I tell you, have you ever heard of an alligator that comes out of water and says the crocodile is dead? Have you? An African saying, I believe you come from Mafia clan near there, around
I love African sayings, and I want you to go through that. Take us through that again. Let us in on that again. Tell us again.
Alligator. Have you ever seen of an alligator that comes out of water and says the crocodile is dead? That's Ruto. He can't say there is corruption. He says, if you ask him about corruption, they have never mentioned in the constitution. Even his man called David Ndii has never mentioned. When you ask him about how will you fight corruption, he said it's not none of on our agenda. An alligator getting out of water saying the crocodile is dead. Surely can a crocodile leave you? He would have died with you. So in a nutshell, let me tell you, my dear brother, the dynasty issue is caused. Ruto himself grew up in a dynasty. From the university in 1992, when he entered, after university, he started stealing slowly from Moi. Moi nurtured him, gave him money. He could even tell Moi a lie and get money. He has not shown us whether he has a factory. He has never built one factory that employs even half a person. You know, at times you can have full person and half. So I don't know. But he has never employed anybody in Kenya from his factory. But he's very rich. He has got a house. If you look at Ruto's house, you will just ask Angel Gabriel to take you away from here, because you might never be anywhere near there. So who is a dynasty? He is a dynasty himself. He points fingers at people, but when you look at him, do his children school in Kenya? They go in Kenya, which school do they go to? So this dynasty and the hustlers, this dynasty and the commoners was used to divide the Kenyans on class struggle. And I want to tell you that class struggle is not, it is not Uhuru Kenyattas who brought class struggle. Class struggle to us Christians was created by God himself. When Jesus fed people at the port of Capernaum, 5,000, the people who came later, did they eat the real food of Jesus, or they found Jesus had gone? Answer me. And Bosire is a Christian. Can you tell me where they found those who came from the other port of the sea across on a canoe? They found Jesus was already ahead healing people. They ate the small things left. Class struggle was not our problem. The class struggle in Africa is, Kenya is not a communist state where you find things given free. Richard struggles. He's a lawyer or somebody. He struggles to earn a living. You go out and earn a living. So the dynasty issue was brought by Ruto in order to win the votes in Mount Kenya. And we are going out to demystify, and I repeat, to demystify that dynasty thing, because it is a dangerous talk that can lead this country to war.
Let me allow you to take on this before I come to Richard, and it has to do with Kenya's national debt, which is at about $54.3 billion, David. What values have both leading candidates shown so far?
The only leading candidate who is talking about debt is Raila Odinga. The other one is blaming Uhuru Kenyattas, yet he stole the money. He took kickbacks. Every Chinese who comes in town sits in a hotel called Intercontinental Hotel, Mr. Sulaiman, was waiting to be seen by His Excellency, the Deputy President of Republic of Kenya. You find the Chinese with his peers. The peers are gathering Chinese like a sheep in the hotel. They are going to meet Ruto, and they come with hard cash. You know, Uhuru went out to borrow to build the industries, the roads, the hospitals. Ruto was busy stealing, taking 10% out of the whole. You are not the only person, Richard. If Richard says who has been convicted, Richard knows in this town, in this city, in this country of his, Kenya, there are so many people suffering and eating no food at night because money has been taken out by a few sharks.
Let me go to Richard, but I'm hoping that we should be able to get because we'll stay on these election or coming election or developments in Kenya, and I'm hoping that we should be able to bring on the square Dismas Mokwa, who is a political risk analyst, to speak on some issues here, because we also need some people that will be on the camp of William Ruto to let us in on some of these allegations and some of the key things that Kenyans need to know on the Ruto team. But quickly here, Richard, what do you make of the power-sharing formula proposed by President Kenyatta?
I think
not again. Well, let's talk about. We're winding down, David Matsanga. We're winding down quickly here.
I wish Dismas was here.
Yes.
Dismas is one of my younger generation.
Also,
and I don't know why he chickened out to see the father here.
We can't say he chickened out yet until we get to hear from him. I think that there's been some issues. You can also see that Richard hasn't been. The connection to Richard hasn't been stable. Richard is back again. Richard, we hope.
In any case, Dismas will speak faster. Yes, sorry.
Let's allow Richard take it. Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
Mr. Matsanga, I have not chickened out. I'm still here.
No, he wasn't referring to you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I'm saying since independence, we've had like 2 tribes only leading Kenya. The first president was a Kikuyu. Then the Kalenjin, Mr. Moi took over from the Kalenjin tribe. Then after that, Kibaki took over from Central Kenya. That's Kikuyu. And then Mr. Uhuru took over from Kibaki. So I think the Azimio La Umoja coalition represents the face of Kenya. We'll now have someone else from a different part of Kenya other than Rift Valley and Central leading Kenya, and that's Raila Odinga, deputized by Martha Karua. And you've seen Mr. Raila also offered Kalonzo Musyoka the post of chief minister. This represents true face of Kenya. And I think Baba should be ahead in the next opinion poll that will be done by pollsters in the next few days. I think by nominating Martha Karua, Raila Odinga will manage to topple Mr. Uhuru Kenyattas, William Ruto from Central Kenya.
So let me take one more with you, Richard, before we close with David Matsanga, now that the network is okay. How does this election feel for you, especially in terms of importance relative to the previous elections held in the country?
In terms of difference with other elections, this election, I think, is about a new tribe taking over Kenya, or a new region taking over Kenya, and which will manage to unite all Kenyans. I think with a Raila Odinga presidency, Azimio Kenya will manage to unite all Kenyans, unlike other past elections where Kenyans were divided right down the middle. So I think this coalition party will manage to unite Kenyans by including all Kenyans from all parts of the country in the government, and by not sidelining any region or any tribe from the government, unlike the previous election.
Okay, let's bring you, David, with that's a closing, comment from you, because Kenya is massively youth populated. Now, how does this population and the demographic determine the winner of the election?
That's a very good question. One of the things that I see, because as an expert on demographics and election patterns of election, how you vote, the voting patterns, the campaigning strategies. Look, everybody, if Mount Kenya does not raise 60%, and I repeat, if Mount Kenya, where everybody is going for the vote, now that Matsanga has come in, and everybody, and the other man also has come in, they might, if they don't bring up 60%, first of all, Ruto is the first person to go home on that day. Because if the voter turnout in Mount Kenya does not reach 60%, Ruto goes home very fast. Raila does not go home. Because Raila usually in Mount Kenya has not been receiving a vote. He needs only 20 to 30% of that vote in order to capture. He's a nationalist. And two, another disadvantage that is working against Ruto is he coming from the Kalenjin tribe, which has been there for 24 years. That is a factor that is going to play in these elections. 24 years, nobody wants another Kalenjin president here. People want another tribe. That is the bottom line, and I want to tell you the truth. People want somebody else, and that is going to work out. Ruto will actually he can be popular. The youth, you see, some of them will even drink before they will wake up at. Can I tell you the truth? Some of them have not registered. Recently, when the IEBC gave out the figures of registered voters, they found out that there are more registered members in the party, but not with identity card to vote. Have you seen that? So some of the people who from these rallies might not appear at the polling station. Voter apathy. Two, the other factor that could be voter apathy, which now, as Richard will tell you, with Matsanga in now, the women are going to come out, my dear, Jesus Christ. Every woman in Kenya, except few who have been bought by Ruto. But every woman in Kenya, even including Ruto's wife, will vote Matsanga.
Well, it's a fine place for us to leave it. And I'm hoping that we'll stay on this issue. We'll bring you back again, David Matsanga, and of course, Richard Bosire, and other Kenyans. The entire continent and the world is looking to Kenya as it moves to that big election. I'd like to thank you for your time, as always, Dr. David Matsanga, and of course, good to see you, Richard Bosire, and we hope to have you back again on the square. Sulaiman,
okay.
Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.